In June 2022, amid the broader crypto meltdown, Caroline Ellison and FTX co-founder Sam Bankman-Fried were looking at a massive hole in Alameda Research's balance sheet. And FTX's affiliated hedge fund had borrowed billions of dollars from the cryptocurrency exchange's deposits. If FTX customers or potential lenders caught wind of it, Ellison, Alameda's chief executive officer, feared it would all come crashing down. But Bankman-Fried had a solution: create new balance sheets. Ellison came up with 7. The alternative balance sheets were one of the ways Bankman-Fried asked her to lie in his futile efforts to preserve his crypto empire. Ellison said during her second day on the stand as the star witness in his fraud trial in Manhattan federal court. Towards the end of her testimony, Ellison fought back tears as she recalled her feelings when Alameda's $14 billion debt to FTX finally doomed both companies. That was overall the worst week of my life. Ellison testified Wednesday about the exchange's November 2022 collapse, though she felt indescribably bad about people who were harmed. She also said she was also relieved. I felt a sense of relief that I didn't have to lie anymore, that I could start taking responsibility for what I had done. Said Ellison, who pleaded guilty to fraud and agreed to cooperate with prosecutors barely a month after FTX's bankruptcy. And Wednesday's testimony by Ellison, who is also Bankman-Fried's ex-girlfriend, directly took on one of his main defense arguments that she, not he, was in charge of Alameda when it's borrowed billions from FTX. For months, Bankman-Fried has suggested, but Ellison was primarily responsible for Alameda's borrowing, and that he only failed to supervise her. I mean, I absolutely should have done things differently, and I could have hedged things earlier in the year, Ellison testified. But Sam was the one who chose to make all these investments that put us in a leveraged position in the first place. And so she also cast in a new light Bankman-Fried's well-publicized adherence to the effective altruism movement, which encourages followers to make as much money as possible to use for the betterment of society. During FTX's better days, Bankman-Fried was a well-known donor to the Democratic Party and other causes. Ellison noted that he initially bought luxury cars, but then switched to a Toyota Corolla, which he thought would be better for his image. And there was Ellison, who followed effective altruism, testified Bankman-Fried's beliefs were such that even actions like lying and stealing could be justified in pursuit of the greater good. She said Bankman-Fried came abroad in Cord's climate. And when I started working at Alameda, I don't think I would have believed if you told me I would be sending false balance sheets to our lenders or taking the customer money. But over time, it was something I felt more comfortable with, Ellison testified. Bankman-Fried's lawyers could begin their cross-examination on Thursday under questioning by Assistant U.S. Attorney Danielle Sassoon. Ellison detailed the growing sense of crisis permeating the crypto industry through the spring and summer of 2022, following the collapse of Terraform Labs' stablecoin. Ellison said Alameda had borrowed $13 billion from FTX by mid-June 2022. I was in a state of dread, she said of that time. I was kind of thinking and imagining every day about what might happen if people tried to withdraw too much money at one time. She said she imagined FTX customers, lenders, and everyone Alameda worked with would get hurt by this. And it was in that context that Bankman-Fried asked her to create false balance sheets for Alameda that would conceal the scale of Alameda's exposure to FTX from lenders like Genesis. I understood him to be directing me to come up with ways to conceal things in our balance sheet we both agreed would look bad, Ellison said. In August 2022, she said Bankman-Fried started blaming her for the worsening situation. Sam started saying Alameda should have hedged way more earlier in the year. That was a big mistake. That was my fault. and I was largely responsible for the financial situation. Ellison testified, "I got upset. I started crying." And she said that she probably did make mistakes, but said that the Bankman-Fried was more to blame for the mess they found themselves in. And so, in describing her growing concerns, Ellison echoed earlier testimony by other prosecution witnesses, including FTX co-founder Gary Wang, who said Bankman-Fried directed him to alter the exchange's back-end code so that Alameda could borrow unlimited amounts. Wang also pleaded guilty and agreed to cooperate in December. Wang and Ellison were often in the same group signal chats with Bankman-Fried and other FTX executives, she said, that continued into fall 2022, by which time Ellison said she and Bankman-Fried were no longer a couple. We'd broken up a few months prior. So I was trying to avoid spending much time with him in a social context and having one-on-one conversations with him, and she testified. Ellison said Bankman-Fried directed that they should use the disappearing message setting on the Signal app. He also asked them to use the New York Times test and imagine their text as a newspaper headline before sending it. She and Bankman-Fried discussed other potential lifelines for FTX. On one occasion, he raised the possibility of asking Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman to buy shares in FTX. Financier Anthony Scaramucci arranged a dinner between Bankman-Fried and the Saudi ruler in late October when the former was visiting Riyadh for a conference. MBS has never been publicly listed as an FTX investor. It wasn't the first time that Bankman-Fried sought the help of a foreign government, Ellison testified. She said the two had several discussions about a large bribe they paid to Chinese officials in November 2021 to unfreeze $1 billion in Alameda funds that had been caught up in a crypto crackdown in that country. Ellison said FTX executives explored various ways to access the funds, but none proved to be successful. She said Bankman-Fried grew frustrated over the issue, at one point yelling at a trader who objected to the idea of bribery to shut the Eventually, she said they decided they had to pay the officials. Prosecutors added a bribery charge to Bankman-Fried's indictment in March, but later separated it to be tried separately after the original counts. Ellison said she lied to other employees about the bribe. "I didn't want the facts of my crimes to get out," she said. And the case is U.S. v. Bankman-Fried 22 CR 673, U.S. District Court, Southern District of New York, Manhattan.